Airships, also known as dirigibles or blimps, are self-propelled, lighter-than-air aircraft that use a gas like helium or hydrogen to float and steer in the air. They typically have a cigar-shaped envelope filled with a lifting gas, with a gondola or car attached for carrying passengers, crew, and cargo. Airships can be rigid, semi-rigid, or non-rigid, with blimps being a common type of non-rigid airship. Airships were popular in the early 20th century, used for passenger travel, cargo transport, and military surveillance. The Hindenburg disaster in 1937, while a tragic event, also marked the end of the era of large, rigid passenger airships. While commercial airship passenger travel declined, blimps, a type of non-rigid airship, continue to be used for advertising, aerial photography, and surveillance. There is renewed interest in airships for applications like cargo transport, particularly in regions with limited infrastructure. The airships operate by the principle of Archimedes. Bodies submerged into a fluid receive from it a lifting force, which is equal to the mass of the displaced fluid. The airship is filled with a lifting gas, helium. The atmospheric air has a higher specific weight than the lifting gas. The airship envelope filled with the light gas generates a lift that is equal to the weight of the displaced air, and the airship floats in the heavier air. Because the pressure inside the envelope is very low, a hole in the envelope results only in a very slow leak, taking hours or even days to affect the airship's performance. As the airship rises, the helium expands and helium contracts when the airship descends. In order to maintain a constant pressure within the ballonnet is installed. These are simply bags containing air, which are inflated or deflated to maintain a constant pressure inside the envelope. This allows the helium to expand and contract. When the ballonnet is completely empty, the airship is said to be at its pressure height. The initial design of the ballonnet size will determine an individual airship's maximum change of altitude capability. In addition to the lift provided by helium, modern airships derive aerodynamic lift from the shape of the envelope as it moves through the air, as an airplane does. The Hindenburg disaster was a catastrophic event that occurred on May 6, 1937, at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey. The German passenger airship, Hindenburg, caught fire and was destroyed during its landing, resulting in 35 fatalities among the 97 people on board. The Hindenburg caught fire and quickly became engulfed in flames. Eyewitness statements disagree as to where the fire initially broke out. Several witnesses on the port side saw yellow-red flames first jump forward of the top fin, near the ventilation shaft of cells 4 and 5. Other witnesses on the port side noted the fire actually began just ahead of the horizontal port fin, only then followed by flames in front of the upper fin. One, with views of the starboard side, saw flames beginning lower and farther aft, near cell 1 behind the rudders. Inside the airship, helmsman Helmut Lau, who was stationed in the lower fin, testified hearing a muffled detonation and looked up to see a bright reflection on the front bulkhead of gas cell 4, which suddenly disappeared by the heat. As other gas cells started to catch fire, the fire spread more to the starboard side and the ship dropped rapidly. Although the landing was being filmed by cameramen from 4 newsreel teams and at least 1 spectator, with numerous photographers also being at the scene, no footage or photographs are known to exist of the moment the fire started. The flames quickly spread forward, first consuming cells 1 to 9, and the rear end of the structure imploded. Almost instantly, 2 tanks burst out of the hull as a result of the shock of the blast. Buoyancy was lost on the stern of the ship, and the bow lurched upwards while the ship's back broke. The falling stern stayed in trim. As the tail of the Hindenburg crashed into the ground, a burst of flame came out of the nose, killing 9 of the 12 crew members in the bow. There was still gas in the bow section of the ship, so it continued to point upward as the stern collapsed down. The cell behind the passenger decks ignited as the side collapsed inward, and the scarlet lettering reading Hindenburg was erased by flames as the bow descended. The airship's gondola wheel touched the ground, causing the bow to bounce up slightly as one final gas cell burned away. At this point, most of the fabric on the hull had also burned away, and the bow finally crashed to the ground. Although the hydrogen had finished burning, the Hindenburg's diesel fuel burned for several more hours. The time that it took from the first signs of disaster to the bow crashing to the ground is reported as 32, 34, or 37 seconds. Since none of the newsreel cameras were filming the airship when the fire first started, the time of the start can only be estimated from various eyewitness accounts and the duration of the longest footage of the crash. The term Zeppelin originally referred to airships manufactured by the German Zeppelin Company, which built and operated the first rigid airships in the early years of the 20th century. The initials LZ, for Luftschiff Zeppelin, usually prefix their craft's serial identifiers. Streamlined rigid airships are often referred to as Zeppelins, because of the fame that this company acquired due to the number of airships it produced.